Here we're going to take a look at how to diagnose a Volkswagen. And what we mean by that is that we will be able to read the fault codes and run a full system diagnostics. Usually when you take your car to the dealership or to a mechanic, they will usually read the codes. And this is not just reading the codes from the as related to the check engine light, but reading the codes from all systems in the car so that you can get a better understanding of what's wrong with or what's going on with the car. So in order to do that, you do need a scanner that's able to read Volkswagen manufacturer fault codes. So these cars have multiple modules, usually 25 to 30 modules, and that module, it could be engine control module, it could be ABS module, it could be the traction control, air conditioning system, the airbag system, or the airbag control module, and a number of modules. So you can see here, if you go to system selection on this counter, you can see all the modules on this vehicle. Now this particular car does not have all these modules installed, but it does have a fair amount of them. So it doesn't have navigation, for example, and so if you click on that module, you're not going to be able to communicate with it. Here we can read the codes from the engine control module, and then you can read DTC's clear codes and also view live sensor data. Since we are in the engine control module, here we're going to only see data that comes to that particular module. So we can read the codes, and here we have a number of codes. But what's important to here is that you want to pay attention and address these codes that are active. These codes that are passive, there could have been an issue in the past. For example, let's say you forgot that gas cap to tighten that, so it could have triggered the check engine light, and then it might have gone off. So it will change here as a passive. In this case, we have an initial coil primary secondary circuit issue, so that code is passive. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to address these codes that are active here. And as far as the check engine light, you can't clear that yet until you address those active codes. But then once you do fix that problem, replace the sensors or whatever is causing those codes, you can come here and do clear fault codes, and that will allow you to clear the codes. We're just going to clear it, but in this case these two codes stay there. In some cases, depending on the code, it might not come up right away like it did in this case. It could take, you know, a day or two, but the codes will return if you don't fix the problem. So you can also read codes from the transmission control module. Let's read DTC, no fault code on transmission. So if you're having transmission issues, brakes and ABS and steering angle sensor and air conditioning, you can read the codes from any module. But there's something else that you can do. Instead of going through all the modules one by one, you can run a health report, and depending on the scanner, it'll just call that health report different things. Auto scan it's called sometimes, but you run a report on that, and then the scanner will go through all the modules and read codes on that. So you can see here, it found no codes on the transmission module, but there's 2 for the engine control module, there's 4 for brakes, 1 for AC, central electronics, airbag has no fault codes, and it's still going. I mean, we're only 45%, 50%, and so it'll keep on going through all the modules and find codes. And then you can review all of these codes, and then you can actually go to each one of these modules, because right here on the left we have the name of the system or the module that has the codes. One thing to keep in mind is that sometimes you might have a fault code that's really is present in more than one module. So for example, you can have a code that it's in the transmission module, but also on the ABS module and the traction controls. It will have different codes, but if you look at the description, they're all pointing to the same issue. It could be, for example, the ABS wheel speed sensor. So it will set a number of fault codes. So it's good to do a full system scan and get a good understanding of what's going on. And then here you can see all the codes, and it shows the state there. And going back, you can dig more into these modules. You can go back again, and you can do system selection and go to the module that you saw a number of codes in. So that's it. That should help get you started. as far as like have a better understanding of what's going on and why your car, you know, is acting up. And it's just good to have and you have an idea what's going on with your car. And that's it. Just make sure you have a scanner that's able to read Volkswagen specific codes and get into all the systems. Those generic scanners, those handheld units, they usually can get into that engine control module and only read codes with regards to the engine, check engine light and all that. But the more advanced scanners will start going into 4 modules such as airbag, ABS, transmission, and SRS. So as the slightly more expensive scanners might do 2, 3, or 4 systems, read codes from 4 modules. Some scanners, for example, only do ABS, transmission, and engine. But if you're working these cars regularly, or if you really want to get a good understanding, get a scanner that gets into all the systems. So then if your AC doesn't work, you can read codes from the AC module. If your windows are stopping working and you don't know why, then you can, you know, read the codes from that. If your sound system or navigation is not working, you want a good scanner that can get into all the systems. And that's it. Thank you for